Okay, now getting to the depiction of the Empire in Andor. I really love it, but now remember how the Empire looked in the films. First of all, you never actually saw them being oppressive towards the populations. You never saw people actually and directly suffering from the regime. So they seemed to be doing just fine and going around doing their thing, while in theory, being ruled by Stalin. Second, their armies were so ridiculously inept, always conveniently missing their shots, legions consisting of stupid-looking robots, which I guess you could argue this thing about evil being so stupid was necessary because the plot of the good characters was really stupid as well. So for the story to keep going, they had to keep the bar low. Otherwise, if they were up against an actually imposing army, none of these idiots would have survived for more than 10 minutes. And then most of all, at the top of the pyramid of this supposed galactic empire, there stood this person. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Emperor was my favorite thing in Star Wars because he was so insane, but nowadays, when I think of a person who needs to keep hold over a giant oppressive empire, the last thing I imagine is a cackling old moron with electric fingers. And so Andor finally gives the Empire its due in terms of looks. It's like a giant, horrible government stagnating in its bureaucracy, disregarding any personal affection, and yet government employees still bonding in their own sick bubble of office space love, which gives it a nice sense of reality. There's also petty office quarrels, trying to kiss up to bosses, and bosses who seek and appreciate innovation, and all this kind of stuff. And I love it. This is what the Empire portrayal should have been from the start. And I also love the ultimate problem that the government faces. A stagnating system that's been in place for like so long that people don't even imagine that their established method might have to be completely reworked. It's more or less a USSR falling apart type of thing. Now though, the thing that irks me is within the details of the problem due to which the Empire is failing. So apparently Kyburn devised a system where the Empire split up in regions, with each region being monitored by an underling, and then things start to fall apart when rebels manage to organize, and they're able to do so because they're doing it across all regions at the same time. And in the government, nobody ever saw it coming because everyone was looking only at their own separate assigned province. And then it's only because one employee overstepped and looked at the stats for the whole empire that they ever noticed the rebels organizing. And my brain goes, well, it's not that it's so illogical or whatever. Many problems in the world arise and are resolved by looking at things from a different angle, be it the bigger picture or the smaller picture. But at the same time, how do you run such a giant empire without ever looking at the whole? I mean, sure, it's giant, so you need to compartmentalize. It's like the Roman Empire divided into provinces. But just because you compartmentalize, how does that mean that you either forget, or even worse, forbid, for anyone to look at what's going on across the whole thing? Would the United States stay together if Washington didn't look at all of them together at the same time? I don't know. Somehow it doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's enough sense for me to relax and enjoy it as a substantive story.